everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Southern Fried Podcast, a production of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Man, I've been looking forward to this one because you can look at me and know that I love food. I love talking about restaurants. I love talking about the whole food culture. I'm a longtime member of the Southern Foodways Alliance, on and on and on. And I've got Chef Jennifer Maune here today, and what an exciting story we've got to tell. Jennifer, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Interesting small state story. You know, the great thing about Arkansas is, there's only 2 degrees of separation. Jennifer and I have known each other a long time, but I served for 4 years as head of something called the Delta Regional Authority in George W. Bush's administration. And one of my proudest accomplishments there is I created a regional leadership institute with people from 8 states. And Jennifer was actually in one of our first classes back then.
I was, absolutely.
And it's still going strong.
Yes, it
Delta
is.
leadership. Yeah.
And Ouachita graduate.
Yeah, absolutely. Both. We're everywhere. The Purple Mafia, as I say.
Yes.
So we are all over. But Restaurant Fleur, which is just going to be 1 block from the Democrat Gazette offices where we're taping this right now. I'm so excited. But before we get into the restaurant itself, Jennifer, I'd like you to talk a little bit about your journey, because it wasn't a direct journey into the world of food. It's been kind of a roundabout journey. So just a quick tour of your career journey since you finished college.
Absolutely. So I found my love of food and my passion for food in my grandmother's kitchen. Right here in Little Rock.
You're in Little Rock, yeah.
And she had a large family, so our holiday gatherings were large, 30, 40, sometimes 50 people. And so, everything based on the holidays is based on food and gathering around a table. So I was in the kitchen, helping and watching her. She didn't use a lot of recipes, but she, watched her season and taste. And so that's, where my love for food was grounded. And then as I became a wife and mother, wanted to, I was really self-taught, but I always wanted to provide, a warm, cozy meal at my table. That was one of my goals early in life as a wife and mom.
Yeah.
And then I started a blog where I share entertaining and family recipes and
at the time you were working in public relations?
Well, I had a nonprofit career, so I did fundraising, PR, marketing, event planning for several nonprofits, and then left that career and started my blog where I could work from home.
Yeah.
And as that blog grew, on social media and, of course, a presence across the world, people were asking me questions about my recipes. How do I modify for this allergy, or how do I modify for this restriction? And they really were starting to grow in popularity. And I thought, I've taken some interior design courses, and I consider myself an expert entertainer, because we're in the South and hospitality is key, right?
Exactly.
And I learned from all those family gatherings growing up, and etiquette classes, because I was raised like a Southern person or gentleman should be, and so but I felt like what I was lacking was the education in order to create my own recipes. And that was my goal. And I learned that Pulaski Technical College had this excellent program.
Exactly.
I really, honestly, when I started looking through the course structure, I was blown away that this was right here in Little Rock. And as I took a tour of the facilities and saw the technology and the facilities that they have, I just was very impressed. And so my intent was to get a pastry chef certification, because at the time I was sharing a lot of baked goods and cakes and, that sort of thing. And then day 1 of culinary school, I came home and I said, this is what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. I want the full degree. I want to pursue this path. And then about a month in of my culinary journey, I told my husband, I think I want to open a restaurant.
Oh,
He was
wow.
like, no, that's not what we're doing. You have a great job.
That's right. That's right.
You know, you're able to work from home. You know,
Uh-huh.
you have a great income. You know, you've got this huge blog that you've spent, you know, many
Yep.
years building, and you know, social media presence. You know, all that was a lot of work.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's a full-time career.
It is. It is.
But the more I dove into the culinary classes, I decided to also get the culinary degree. And, you know, this is sort of a fun part of my journey that I haven't gotten to share a lot. But, you know, I have 6 kids, and
Yep.
they're from right now ages, you know, almost 16 to 5.
Oh, I told you before we started taping, you're the busiest person I know.
Well, you know, I
2 kids wore me out raising them. I can imagine that times 3.
right. Well, you know, I knew that I was going to be my own boss. So my GPA didn't matter. You know, it didn't matter because I wasn't going to have to turn that into anyone or
Right.
submit a resume to anyone because I was planning to, you know, either pursue the blog or open a restaurant. But I decided I wanted to pursue excellence and achieve a 4.0 so I could show my kids that a working mom, a busy mom, managing a home, a career, a blog, you know, that I could stay up late, I could be dedicated, I could wake up early in the mornings. And I graduated with highest honors,
Yeah.
4.0, with my pastry degree, my culinary degree. You know, that's a 120-hour program.
Yeah, and I want to, before I let you go on, I want to back up just a second because I so love writing about things in Arkansas where people will say, man, I didn't know that, in areas where we, to use the old saying, punch above our weight class as a state. And that Pulaski Tech program,
Yes.
I'm great friends with Chef Jamie McAfee, and Jamie convinced me years ago. He said, "Look, you know, people see it from the interstate, but they don't really know what's going on there, and it's as good as some of the top programs in the country that get a lot more publicity." So
It
I
is.
did want to bring that out before
It is.
you went on.
You know, that's a great point because even to be certified by the ACF, the you know, American Culinary Federation, I've been on campus through the process of recertification, and it is very serious, and they have very high standards. And now that my culinary career and education has progressed to studying in France and being at the #1 culinary institute in the world, I've seen their facilities, their technology, their equipment, their standards for sanitary and all of those concepts, sustainability, and Pulaski Tech is absolutely a top culinary institution in the country for sure.
All right, I'll go back to the career journey a little bit. I want to, so you graduate top of your class from that program, but
Let me tell you why that matters.
okay.
Because it really transitioned into how I ended up in France. So I received the Paul Bash Whip. I think they call it the French Whip Scholarship.
I love it.
Okay,
I love it.
and we all know Paul Bash and what
Absolutely.
he's done for the culinary industry in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And when I was reading his bio to send a thank you note to thank him for the scholarship, I noticed he'd studied all over Europe in different restaurants and had different learning opportunities. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to open a state-of-the-art, iconic restaurant in Little Rock, that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
So I started looking at programs and applied for the Le Cordon Bleu in Paris advanced pastry certification. And they told me, their American office told me, we don't usually accept non-Le Cordon Bleu graduates, but because of your GPA
Oh, wow.
and your
Wow.
resume,
Yeah.
we're going to accept you.
Wow.
So I was able to go to, Paris and study. I was there for about 9 days and learned how to make the true French, authentic brioche and croissants. So that's what's coming
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Is the true method. And I studied under the world-leading chefs in this department. So, in Europe, there's a master chef designation. Takes them years of study and competitions in order to be considered a master chef. And so my professors there, had the collar. So you'll have to look into this if you haven't heard of this concept.
I've got to tell you, talking about making things the real French method, one of the things I look forward to but worries me at the same time, and we'll get to the restaurant later, but it's the coffee and pastries in the morning because, as I said, you're a block down the street. I love coffee. I love pastries. Like so many people my age, I fight the battle of the bulge, but all good things in moderation, right? Right, Jennifer? It's all about moderation.
Yes. Well, then to continue the career,
Yes.
after that, as you know, Master Chef, I found out Master Chef was casting. And
I wanted to get into that. I was hoping you'd get into your TV career, if you will.
Yes. And, I'm a person of faith. And so we prayed heavily over that opportunity because we knew it would be difficult for Mom to be away.
Right.
And thankfully, we have a village, we have family, grandparents who are very involved in our lives. And I'm so thankful for that because I couldn't do what I do.
Absolutely.
Without that circle around me. But the interesting part of that story is I found out late in the process about the opportunity to apply. And so by the time I got it was an 80-question application and resume and background check and 10, food photos that, of course, I wanted to look absolutely professional, and a 2-minute audition tape. So again, wanted to approach that from a professional perspective to put my, best foot forward. And then, so I got my package all together and submitted the night of the deadline. Okay.
Oh, wow.
10 p.m. on the night of the deadline.
Yeah.
And so we prayed, Lord, open or close the door. We prayed in my living room. And the next day at 1 p.m., I got a call from Master Chef. So, I called my husband. I said, the Lord has opened the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then, I think many of us know, my amazing experience there, but I made it through 17 cooking challenges, had some difficulty, but also won a lot of the challenges.
You made all of Arkansas proud, let me tell you. We Arkansans kind of adopt our own,
yes.
pull together. Yeah.
And, I knew that about my home state, and boy, did everyone come through, because I still to this day get stopped at the grocery store, get stopped on, the corner, walking into the restaurant. People stop and they're like, we're just so excited about the restaurant, so proud of you. So it means a lot. But the great thing from that experience is, and this is really cool, so had I won MasterChef, I would have been under a 5-year contract where basically they would receive 20% of my food and beverage proceeds, any restaurant.
5 years.
Yep. They had an option in there. It was 2-year minimum, but they could also, if you did really well, they could increase that to 5-year. And so my attorney said, we don't want to win. We want to be second runner up.
Interesting. Yeah.
But if I had won, I would have received $250,000. And what I love about my story is as I started meeting with investors and raising funds, capital funds for the concept, we raised over $2 million.
Wow.
In capital funds and bank contributions towards the project. So, I like to say this, but you don't have to win to win.
Exactly. You definitely were a winner there. Now, now I'm going to go back to the first because I loved how you described your grandmother. I was lucky. I had 2 great cooks for grandmothers, and they both lived into their 90s. And so I had them my whole childhood, all the way through college. Like your grandmother, I never saw them use recipes, little of this, little of that. Wonderful. So there's your base. Now you've been trained in France. So that kind of Arkansas grandma base, French training, how do you describe your style?
I love that. Well, so when I left MasterChef, I was looking for a European program that would give me, had a great foundation from Pulaski Technical College, but I wanted to step it up and get that Michelin star training. And so, and I'm going to get to your question, but I want to start.
This is important background.
Yes. So I found out about this program. They were only accepting 10 people, across the globe. And I applied. Gordon Ramsay committed, when I left MasterChef, that he would support my career forevermore, gave me his personal cell, his personal email, his personal assistant's info. And so he sent in a recommendation letter for me. Again, after looking at my resume and my 4.0 and all of that, they were all so impressed. And through another lengthy interview process, I received one of those 10 spots. Was the only American to get to complete the expert diploma at École de Casse. People from Italy and Germany and Serbia, all over the world. were there in that program with me, and we studied for 5 weeks under a 2 Michelin star chef. And I talk about standards and kind of going from Gordon Ramsay to being under a true French chef and what their expectations are.
Yeah.
And they were high. You weren't late.
Oh, yeah.
You were prepared. You were early. You were early, ready.
Yeah. If you're on time, you're late, as the old saying goes. Yeah.
So, but what that gave me was a new foundation and really taking, they call it a naturalist approach in France. And this is something that's really growing across all Michelin star kitchens if you look at the trend.
Yeah.
And it's taking a product like something as simple as a, parsnip or a carrot. And it's truly honoring the true nature of the vegetable, however you plan to cook it. And so what I want to do in my kitchen and my style and what I want to present to, Little Rock, and as we grow, we plan to open, restaurants across the country. And so what I want to present is have that, naturalist concept where you are tasting the absolute top flavor profile of that vegetable or protein or, recipe, that dish. But I want to meld that with some of the Southern notes and flavor profiles that we have and that we know and we love and trust here. So it might be like my grandmother, where we're working on a recipe and you might not ever get to taste that dish again because it's something that's truly magical that we create together by recognizing just the natural flavor profile of the carrot or the parsnip or the duck or, the venison,
Yeah.
So that's kind
love
of,
it.
that's my concept is I want to present some French dishes, but I want an American twist and really more of a contemporary modern approach, with gastronomy.
Yeah. Going back in your selection of downtown for your first restaurant, you mentioned Paul Bash and the scholarship. I've enjoyed writing some of the history through the years about how Little Rock became such a good dining city. And I think you'll agree, for a city of only 200,000, talking about punching above your weight class. And, of course, a lot of it goes back to banker Finley Benson deciding he wanted a very good restaurant on his new tower, which at the time was First Commercial Bank building, goes all over Europe, hires people like Paul Bash for Jacques and Suzanne. Those people end up going out on their own, and I think you'll agree with me, Little Rock, over the last couple of decades, certainly has had a really great dining scene, again, for a city of only 200,000 people.
Yes, absolutely. We love many restaurants, here in Little Rock. And what I want to bring that I feel like is different is, I have got Nostalgia at the French Laundry.
Oh, yeah.
3 Michelin star. Le Louis 15 in Monaco, France, 3 Michelin star. Restaurant Gordon Ramsay in London, 3 Michelin star. And one of the things that I want to present is that type of hospitality and experience. But the key is for me is that I don't want it to feel stuffy.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want it to be your Tuesday night meal when you want a good meal. I don't want it to
not
be,
just a special occasion restaurant.
I don't want it to be the anniversary and birthday dinner, you know?
Yep.
And so that's one thing that I'm excited about is taking all these, in the last year, our goal, my husband and I, we set a goal to eat in as many Michelin star restaurants as we could.
Wow.
New
What
York,
a fun goal. Yeah.
California, France, all over France. And so I think we hit 15 in about a year, but the goal was looking at flavor profiles, presentation, hospitality, literally where they place the fork, the champagne cart, the cheese cart, the bread cart, all of those experiences, what type of tours do they offer to their guests? And so, some of the things I'm excited about in Restaurant Fleur is we're going to have a wine cellar that has a table for two, for
neat
exclusive tastings. We're going to have the original bank vault, from
that
the
was
early
built
1900s.
as a bank building in 1904, right?
Yes, that
was the Boyle Building, now the Bob Brooks Justice Center.
Yes, that vault will be my chef tasting table for 12.
How
up
neat.
to 12, where we will have a wine club. where you'll have exclusive access to some very high-end wines if you book in our chef table room. And then, of course, we have space for 50 to 60 for special events, think rehearsal dinners, corporate Christmas parties, that sort of thing. And then the Speakeasy Bar that has where it's very intimate. We've got 30 seats, some room for standing, but very intimate.
Neat.
I'm not releasing the name yet, but you're going to love it.
Okay.
We've got some plans there that tie into to Little Rock.
Little Rock history. Yeah.
And then, of course, the pastry shop will, utilizing my training, in France, we will have macarons and truffles and all the different types of French-style breads, but then also craft coffee, juice bar, and we're going to have a little a bar set up that's facing Capitol and all the big grand windows where you can
you're
just come
tempting me
get
in a
your
big
coffee.
way now.
I
Yeah.
know, and your pastry, and just have a quick bite, and then just go on your way, just like you would experience in a cafe or a pastry shop in France.
And part of the bigger picture, I'm so excited about you coming here is that, and I've got a column coming up. I think it's a couple weeks from Sunday. I stay ahead, but on the revitalization of downtown Little Rock, if you go back to when the Art Center opened 2 years ago and add the projects that have been done since then, are being done right now, or are coming, such as the $200 million expansion of the Clinton Center, I came up with a figure of over $500 million. That's just downtown.
Wow.
Of investment. And I don't think most Arkansans, even most Little Rock residents, those that live out west where I live, realize that. And it's somebody who works down here every day. It's really exciting to watch when downtowns in so many cities across America are struggling right now.
Yes, absolutely. Well, as I think one of our goals is to bring Michelin Guide to Arkansas.
Absolutely, and they just released. Jennifer knows this, of course, but just this week have released their first guide on the American South. Because I follow restaurants I like in New Orleans, for instance, and they're popping up on my feed all the time now on the new Michelin Guide.
Yes.
So yeah,
So I've spoken with the governor.
Yeah.
I've spoken with the tourism department. So we are putting our heads together on. We might pull together some private funding. Of course, there is a cost to bring the guide to a city or a state. And so we're, hoping by possibly 2027, we can have our own, Arkansas Michelin Guide.
Yeah.
So that's certainly the goal. But part of that goal is because I want Restaurant Fleur to be a source of food tourism for the state.
And food tourism's big, as you know. Again, a lot of people don't realize that. People who know me say, well, that figures. But for instance, when I was married 39 years ago now, dating myself, but 39 years ago, guess where we honeymooned? New Orleans, I just mentioned, because I wanted to eat in a different great restaurant every night for like 6 straight nights.
Absolutely. We certainly travel for food and, because of the show, because of MasterChef, and also because of my large audience. We have, people that, almost every day someone comments on my social media. I'm coming from Mississippi. I'm coming from Kentucky, Louisiana, San Francisco. I have people that will come from France, to come to the restaurant opening. So we, even the restaurant opening, I've got MasterChef, even from previous seasons, MasterChef contestants that have all said they're coming when we open. So I think it's going to be a really exciting time for Little Rock specifically, in Arkansas as a whole, when we open.
And one of the great things is what you want in a downtown is what economic developers like to call a 24-hour downtown. You want people actually living there, walking the streets at all hours, and you're going to be bringing new life at night to a part of downtown. Now, there's some action a few blocks away, but a part that's been pretty dark at night here. And I know my friends right down the street from you, for instance, at the Arkansas Repertory Theater, are so excited about your restaurant because they've kind of been a stalwart of this part of downtown for all these years, but they haven't had much company at night.
Right,
And you're
and
going to be giving them a great company in the
Yes,
evening,
we've
too.
talked about doing some fun things together.
Oh, that's great.
Surrounding their calendars. So we're going to be talking about that as we get closer to opening, and so yes, I'm very excited about being a part of that. And another component of our restaurant goals is sustainability and locally sourcing, and I think that's important for the state as well and the region, because we're going to be partnering with local farmers and highlighting and really focusing on seasonality. So our menu will be constantly changing, just
great.
depending on what we're harvesting. And we're also building out. This next spring, we'll start construction and, the whole program, but we're building out our own garden that I'm not sure the size yet, but
Yeah.
we'll have a bee program. So we'll have infused honeys that will be harvested and just local honey provided for the restaurant. So that honey butter, that we offer with those beautiful rolls will be, something that is locally produced.
Yeah.
And we will have a chicken program, and all of our herbs and a lot of our produce we want to come from this garden. And, one of the things my 2 Michelin star chef at Ecole de Coste told me in front of Brian, so this was a special moment for me. He said she is absolutely a 2 Michelin star chef. He said she will have, I've seen her work for 5 weeks. I've seen her passion, her work ethic, her skill. She has it. She will have 2 stars. She said, now the 3rd star comes when you have your own garden.
Yep.
When you locally source, when you focus on sustainability and the overall business, profile, the social media, the presence, that sort of thing. So I'm excited to hear that affirmation from someone who has been in the industry for so long, but also excited for what that can do for our state.
Yeah.
Having Michelin star restaurants here will be a big deal.
Well, one thing that excites me, you obviously bring the ability as a chef, but based on what you have done before, you mentioned social media, you do bring the social media, the PR background at the same time, because people have to know you're there. They have to know what you're doing. Right. It has to become a thing. And seems to me a very unique combination. Most great chefs hire good PR people. You're your own PR person.
Well, it is interesting that I feel like my entire career path, from really my time at Ouachita, the experiences I gained there, and then through event planning and being on the client when meeting with, the State House to do their chef tastings. I was the client, so I saw that whole process and learned through it. And now getting to, be on the other side where I'm planning my own hospitality and front of house experience. And so, yes, it is absolutely a very interesting career path, but I think what it's done is made me well-rounded to do what, to accomplish our goals.
Yeah. This is an inside joke. I know there are Washingtonians probably listening that'll get it. When you said your time at Ouachita, I thought you were about to tell me Walt in the dining hall was one of your dining inspirations. We had this legendary guy. I mean, he was beloved by students named Walt Keogh that ran the dining hall.
Yes.
We were in college.
I love that.
Many years. That's where I was afraid you were going for a minute. The dining hall was known as Walt's Place.
I love it. It was. Yes. Good memories.
All right. So I know getting those stars is one thing, but kind of look into your crystal ball. Where do you see this all going 5 years from now, 10 years from now even?
We hope to have one day 20 units across the U.S.
Wow.
We want to be in every major foodie, city, Atlanta, New Orleans, Chicago. We'll go to Texas, of course, New York.
But Little Rock would still be home, which is exciting.
Well, that was very important to me.
Yeah.
Born and raised, I was born in Little Rock, raised in Central Arkansas. I wanted Little Rock to be my flagship. I also wanted a location that I could feel proud to ask Gordon Ramsay to walk in my door.
Oh, and the building restoration is so beautiful. $35 million they spent.
And, we looked in West Little Rock. We looked in the Heights. We were almost pretty close in both locations. Mm-hmm. And, we are looking at a fast casual.
Oh, that's maybe in another part of town.
And so we may have some drive-throughs where you can get those beautiful fresh pastries, made.
That's exciting.
And gourmet sandwiches to go, that sort of thing. So we will likely have some fast casual options in town. But when I walked up to that building, I thought, this is it.
Yeah.
So we've got to make this work. It is an interesting space. It's small.
Yeah.
We've got a small kitchen, but one thing that I've learned through all my stages across, the globe is that people in the culinary industry are adaptable.
Yeah.
Whereas in Gordon Ramsay, in order to get down to the pastry prep kitchen, you had to walk down this very narrow, steep staircase and then duck under the ceiling to get into the kitchen. And, we just did it every day.
Yeah.
You just ran down there.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
so just like that, my staff might have to go downstairs to the walk-in, down to the basement, but we're going to make it work. And
when I was touring that building about a year ago before the opening with Chris Moses, and he told me off the record, Jennifer, he knew we knew each other. I think we're about to announce this. I think I literally high-fived him.
I love it. Well, he's the one that is, the origination of being at the building. Because he said, I need you to trust me and come see this space. And I was like, I live in Ferndale. I live out in West Little Rock, and I've got babies,
Yeah, exactly.
But again, we walked up and it was done. And, as we are in the process of demolition right now, we keep, leveling floors and finding that original tile from the 1900s.
Oh, wow. How neat.
And so our plan is to honor that building as much as we can, restore as much as we can. And so when you walk inside Restaurant Fleur, I think you're going to see that tile floor, where you're going to see some of the molding that we can, not fully restore, but replicate.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
All right. Well, I could talk all day about this, but I need to let the busiest person I know get on her way. Jennifer, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Chef Jennifer Maune of Restaurant Fleur, coming soon to downtown Little Rock. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Southern Fried Podcast, a production of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette.